It's hard to imagine that someone you've never met in person or a group of people who follow you may be a significant part of your network. People make a living building a virtual network. Have you considered yours? We will discuss your network's value, your virtual network, and more on this edition of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning, Bob. How are you today?
I am good. How are you?
Doing very well, thanks. Very
Good,
well
good.
today.
Happy
On this
Wednesday.
snowy day in Baltimore.
Is it snowing where you are?
Yeah, in Parkton, we're getting some snow. So,
Oh, it's raining here.
yes. Well, it's either on its way to you or it's just a little bit colder here than where you are. So,
Okay. All right.
Either way.
I can live with that.
yeah, absolutely. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. Today, we are going to continue our discussion around your network's value. And we're going to focus today on your virtual network. It's interesting. I'm not sure how many people actually focus on their virtual network. Some, many, although I think not as many as maybe could. So we'll get to that and much more in just a little bit. Until then, or before that, we're going to focus on our celebrations like we do every single day. So, Bob, what are you celebrating today?
I'm going to celebrate the innocence of children. So I have, there are a couple kids that I interact with more and more, and they are so enchanting and so much fun. And one of them I was actually on a golf cart with on Sunday. And we were playing a little game where I would just bring a song lyric into the discussion. And this little girl, I was out with dinner with her and her family last night, and she was doing it back at me with different song lyrics. And it was just so much fun to just have that special connection with the kid over something silly like Katy Perry's song lyrics or something. So it was just fun. It was childlike, it was playful, and it was a good break from the other aspects of the adult world that I live in.
Okay. So you're a Katy Perry expert? I didn't know that about you.
I am. Sometimes I feel like a plastic bag. I've been a firework. I roar. Shall I keep going? I could be a California girl.
That's pretty
Did I
impressive.
miss any of the big Katy Perry songs?
You probably missed a couple because she's had quite a few. But you did a pretty good job. So we'll
Okay. All right. Don't go. Taylor Swift's another one I can go at.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Fascinating look into the music enjoyment of Bob Graham.
I like pop music. I do.
There was a song about pop music a long time ago. I forget who sang it.
Dating yourself. That's like 50 years ago.
It was like a techno 1990s song, maybe 1980s even. Holy cow.
I'll have to find it and put the link in the chat for people.
There we go. That'll be good. Excellent. Well, I'm going to celebrate today. Yesterday, I was talking with a client at an organization, and they were talking about hiring someone. So they have an executive director that's leaving, and they're kind of in this place where they're not 100% sure on their mission. And so they had put together a job description and put it out there. And we just had a really good discussion. And I think I helped them see some other options that they could consider and the value of really being clear on their mission before they go ahead and make next steps that could have a significant impact on not only the organization, but also any person that they might potentially hire. And so that I really enjoyed that conversation. It was nice to see them find some clarity and feel like we created some next steps. So it was an enjoyable conversation that was fun.
Nice.
So that's my celebration. So now you mentioned something, Bob. Bob's being a little bit of a renegade today. rather than our typical either, in the past used to be, what's the National Celebration Day? And then we were kind of doing our own. Bob has come up with, he would like to share a quote from, what book was that again, Bob?
The Renegade Way.
And who wrote that?
Ta-da, I even have a copy with me.
Who's the author?
I am, and you wrote a marvelous foreword. So, and this book's just over a year old. So, if I may.
Wow. What was the actual delivery date on that?
February of 2021.
Oh, it's February. So we missed that anniversary.
We did.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm usually pretty good with those things.
If I may, can I quote from it? And I'm quoting not because of, it's not about me. I just think there's some resonance that people might actually go, oh yeah, that's me, or that makes sense to me.
Okay.
So you can't help but want renegades to succeed because they experience a childlike joy in every aspect of their mission, even the undesirable parts. That high is what drives most renegades. And I picked that quote because I was talking about the childlike joy earlier.
Yes.
And I see that in renegades. Well, I see that in renegades that they just, what happened?
Your camera disappeared on us.
How did I put sorry about that. Now it's a different camera. Oh, how
Bob's technology is impressive and at times confusing. So,
yeah, we're going to have to go with this camera. So I will have to change my view of the world.
If you happen to be listening to our podcast and are uncertain what happened, Bob's camera just all of a sudden disappeared. I could still hear him. He was still there. He still had connection. Now he is back.
Lesson learned. Do not put the Renegade Way down on the wire. It's very fragile.
Good to know.
Couldn't have known it until now.
Is that your today's antidote, or should we continue with our topic of conversation?
We can continue with the program.
All right. That's a good extra tip that you got today about be careful around wires.
And I did post the song, Top Music, the link to the video. That was 1979 and one of the first new wave songs.
Yeah. I'm not.
If you're under the age of 40, it's going to be painful. I'm just warning you.
If you're over the age of 40, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember it. And that is painful as well.
Do you remember the cities? Because he goes through a list of cities.
New York, London, Beijing. I don't remember
Paris?
the rest. Maybe. I was thinking Paris, but I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I don't know. It was a long time ago.
Just my elbow. I'm having all kinds of trouble today.
You are.
There's a counter right next to me, and I just whacked my elbow on the counter.
Nothing like whacking your elbow. All right, time for us to move on. I think because we're all over the place. All right, so we are going to dive into our your network's value. What we've been talking about all week. We talked at the beginning a little bit about what it is on Monday. Tuesday, we dove into your email list. Today, we're going to Tuesday was talking about your in-person network. Great conversation yesterday. If you didn't catch that, go back and watch that episode. I thought there was some really good things in there. And then today, we are going to dive into our virtual network. You want to talk about your virtual network, Bob?
Sure. I think I can talk about it. I'm a little fuzzy on what it means in some ways, to be honest, but I think it's the non-in-person network. So it's the spider web, if you will, of people that are connected to me through various connections of mine. And so someone might have heard about me, like, hey, do you know this guy? He does this thing. And that would be that virtual network. We haven't really connected. We haven't really had interaction. Or it could be the people that you see. You see them on Zoom calls and you don't get a chance to talk to them, but you keep seeing them 3, 4, 5, 6 times. And you have a choice. It's like, oh, wow, this person keeps coming to these events. They're at every event. I could talk to that person. Or you can just go, oh, well, I just see this person a million times. I'm not going to engage with them. And I think that virtual network is probably a untapped market for most of us. We have people, it's also the the opportunity that if if we have a customer that's happy with what we do, they probably have 3 or 4 people that they could share our name with that would add to the opportunity for us. And that expands that network. So I think the virtual aspect in my mind is they're out there, but they haven't been harnessed or attracted in any formal way. How's that for a working definition?
It's interesting. That was not the direction I was thinking.
Okay.
But
That's what makes this program fun.
And it was good. It was interesting to get your take on it, which is why it's fun to do this with 2 people and not just one person just talking away about what is their perspective, which is unique. I was thinking really about the people who we connect with that we've never met, and it's a little bit of what you're talking about, but really for me, it was online. It was like those people who are LinkedIn connections, those people who are Twitter followers, those people who are Facebook friends. And in some regards, some of those people may have been people that we knew a long time ago, and we have not seen in, maybe years. And yet this is one way that we connect. It's fascinating. The coaching group that I was a part of, a cohort. There was about 28 of us, and we met fairly regularly for about a year. Many of us had never met in person. And so it was an interesting opportunity when we finally did meet in person. I think there were a lot of connections, engagement, support, celebrations around the times we met virtually, and yet we had never really been in person. And I think that, there's those people who we kind of have connected with virtually, even if we haven't met in person. And then there are those other people who, who may never meet. Followers on Twitter, you may never meet. You think about the people who are serious social media influencers. They could probably argue that all of their followers are part of their network, and they are leveraging them in a different way. They're leveraging them for views, maybe for feedback, comments, and yet the value to them is not necessarily the one-to-one connection. It's the fact that they value the information that person is putting out in social media, and by watching it, somehow, some way, those people then end up generating revenue from all the people who watch it. It's kind of like, go back to it's not virtual, but it's your book. If somebody buys your book online and they're kind of part of your network, you kind of know who they are, and yet at the same point, you don't really know who they are, and yet they have an opportunity to have an influence over you. You think about the people who watch somebody on, let's say, TikTok, because that's the latest craze, I think, unless there's a new one out there, which is very possible.
I was going to say, I wouldn't date myself with that.
But there are people then who watch that, and then they share it with somebody that they know. And the person who created the TikTok never knows that, say, I watched it, shared it with my wife. She shared it with her best friend, who shared it with their kid, who shared it with their best friend. And before you know it, that spider web, as you talked about, has been built by the passing along of someone else's value. And I think that is, people see the value in numbers, but I don't know if they quite yet, although many of them have figured out how to leverage that in other ways. They then take it to the next level. Is like, okay, if I'm a TikTok star, maybe I create a brand of something that goes along with what I do. And now I make that available, or I write a book, which is a different form of my business that now is available for someone else. And I think that there's opportunity there that we maybe miss. And I think especially with LinkedIn connections, the number of people you connect with that you've never met, just because they send you an invitation, what is the next step with that? How do you take that from just some random click to someone that may actually, you can either provide them with value or they can provide you with value?
I was on a workshop a couple of weeks ago, a free workshop, and there was a woman on there, and she made a comment about something, and I responded, and we had a little back and forth in the chat. And I said to her at one point, I sent her a private message and said, hey, I'd really like to just carry this discussion further without the distraction of all this group. Here's a link to my calendar. I'd love to just have a meeting, no pressure. I'm not going to sell you. You don't need to sell me. And so we got on the call yesterday on Zoom, and there was natural alignment. There were things that I could use that she had, and things that I knew that she could use. And it fell into place naturally. And what she does is a lot of just helping people find their spiritual center and focus on what's important to them. And she said, these things don't happen by chance. And I said, I believe that too. And I think we often have the opportunity to do these things, but we get busy, we get distracted. We don't take the time and effort it takes to set up that Zoom call, to have that 15 or 20-minute discussion. And I will tell you, for me, a lot comes from those discussions. I told the story, I think, a week or two ago about how I was networking with a guy. We just were talking after we had met somewhere, and he talked about 15-minute coaching sessions.
Right.
And that it was the perfect time to hear that. And it changed profoundly how I look at what I do and what we do. And wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the two of us just going, hey, wow, it looks like we might have some opportunity. And I don't pick people who I think I can sell to. I often pick people that I don't think there's any chance that I could sell to. And what's fascinating to me is almost every time I talk to someone in that capacity, there becomes an opportunity that I never imagined, whether it's a sale, whether it's a connection, whether it's a speaking engagement, whether it's something else. The other thing I was going to say, Tom, is I'm surprised at how many times I've gone to speak at conferences and people there know me. Like, oh yeah, you're the guy with the, and they can refer to things I've said. And I'm like, oh, you've been listening to the, what we do in these broadcasts, or you read the book. And it's funny how they start to recognize you in a way that you don't even know them, but they've been touched by the book. Like, I've read your book 4 times, someone said to me a couple months ago. And I was like, really? I don't think my mother's read it once. And they just laughed and said, no, it's that good. And we don't know the effect we have. And we don't know where that virtual network is. And I think the thing to me is we have an opportunity there that may be warmer, to use the sales term, than we realize. That these people may in fact know us. They may have heard about us. They may have been following. If you're on LinkedIn and you post all the time on LinkedIn. If someone's connected to you, they've seen something you've posted. There's no doubt in my mind. So they have a sense of who Tom Brush is. And that could be a catalyst to an opportunity that you wouldn't even know unless you reach out to them and go, hey, John, I see we're connected on LinkedIn. We've been connected for a year. I'm really sorry we haven't talked. I'd love to just find 15 minutes that we can chat and just figure out how we can help each other. It's that easy.
Sure. Well, and I think the interesting thing too is, it's funny, you were talking about the conversation you had with the person around the 15-minute sessions and how that was something that you needed to hear at that time. And I think so often, sometimes we feel like these virtual connections that we make are going to be as strong as the in-person ones that we make. Now, it's possible that they could be. And it's also possible that that connection was made for that one reason. And now it may pop up, like you may connect with that guy again, and you may not. But it was at a point where you needed to hear something, and that was the timing. And that was why that person came in and added value to your life. And now we can move on. And I think maybe I
don't even remember his name.
No kidding.
No kidding. I couldn't pick him out of a lineup. I know he lives in Chicago. That's all I got. So I don't even know if I could find him, but that's part of that value, right? It's not like I tried to sell him or he tried to sell me. We just had an open discussion, and I shared with him some of the things that we were doing. And I think it helped him as well. So it wasn't like, oh my God, I lost a big sale. I got real value from that discussion, and not in a way that I was expecting.
Well, and I think that maybe is the thing, is I think sometimes the expectation is, and I think LinkedIn is a perfect place for this. Even Facebook, you make a connection and you're like,
Twitter
okay,
works,
right,
Instagram, they all work.
that this is going to be a connection that's going to lead to something life-changing, or a big sale, or a big connection, or whatever it might be. And it may just be that 5 or 10 or 20 minutes that you spend connecting, and you pick up one little thing that impacts what's real for you and allows you to move forward. And I think that as long as we continue to not judge the value we get from a connection, which I would say I'm sometimes guilty of, I would sometimes, people invite a connection, I'm like, all they want to do is sell me. They're not really interested in connecting. And I think I'm prejudging what that might be. Now, I may come to be true, and many times it is. And yet the opportunity to at least have that connection is something of value. And I think it's an opportunity to explore and then figure out where it was and what we can learn from it to then help us move forward.
Before we get to our one thing, Tom, our today's antidote, I want to tell you those cities were New York, London, Paris, Munich. Everybody talk about pop music. There you have it.
Spelled M-U-S-I-K, of course.
Yes, of course.
All right, so Bob, what's your one thing?
It's that I could not remember those 4 cities from that song, and it really annoys me. No, I can't believe I got those wrong. I should have known Munich because it rhymes almost with music, right? If you
Not
look
really,
at the
music, Munich.
It's close.
It's like a reverse rhyme. The beginning part's similar. The ending part is not the same. And typically, I think things that rhyme, the ending part is what?
Fair enough.
Is the rhyme.
All right. So I think my one thing is a challenge again, to go out and connect with someone, make a connection with someone who's in that virtual network, and see what happens. And don't go into it and say, I want a sale. Go into it with, I just want to see what happens. You might share a laugh. You might share a really great anecdote. You may find out the best wine that the person likes that you've never tried. You may find a restaurant. You may find they use a different cell phone carrier and you're looking for a cell phone carrier. It's amazing to me the opportunities we have from just having a simple discussion. And I don't go into those discussions with, hey, I'm Bob, I'm trying to sell you. It's like, hey, so what's going on today? And usually from there, the discussion follows. They'll say, oh, I'm having some real problems. I've been trying to schedule this meeting for 3 weeks, and the person, and we keep exchanging emails. That's the discussion I had with someone last week. I'm like, you should try an online calendar. Oh, no, it'd be a pain. I'm like, changes the game. Here's the one I
use. Remember to schedule time that you're available.
But then what?
Nothing.
It was there.
Okay.
That was operator error. That wasn't me.
All right. Okay.
I checked.
All right.
So I think that making that connection to someone in your virtual network, and I would challenge you to do it more than once. 1 a day, maybe 2 a day, and just see what happens. Because the more you reach out to that virtual network, the bigger your spider web gets. If you're looking for a way to market, if you're looking at a way to expand your customer base, one of the best ways is that virtual network. It really is. It's already there, and they have some familiarity with you. At least you can say, hey, we connected on LinkedIn last year or 3 years ago. That's different than, hey, I'm Bob, and I saw your email on a website, and I just figured I'd shout out and see if, I can sell you my stuff, right?
Absolutely.
And there's plenty of that out there.
There certainly is. Yeah, I think my one thing is that I think that there's a lot of different value that our virtual network can have. And I think being clear, kind of like the organization I was talking with yesterday, is what's the mission for the virtual network that you have, so that you are clear on that. And then you're able to more easily move forward of what are the next steps to do that. If your virtual network is you're choosing, all right, I just want to be a social media influencer on whatever platform I choose, then your network is really about how do I get people who really like the content that I put out. And the one-to-one interaction isn't as necessary because they are getting likely what they need, at least for the moment, from the content that I put in, and they feel like that's their connection to me. I think then there's also the other, as you talked about, is who are those people that we do end up connecting with one-on-one, whether it ends up being a one-time occurrence or a more regular, maybe lifetime connection. Each of those has value. And so I think if you want to really leverage the value of your network within a virtual part, it's being really clear on what is the intention that you have with that network, so that you can then go into the next steps of what do I want to do with those people who connect and engage with me.
I like that. I like that a lot. I like that we went different directions with this. I think that's useful.
It's not useful when we say the same thing.
No, I don't think so. I also want to shout out to John because I know he's listening. I see he commented. Hello to you, John. So
good morning, John. All right, everyone. What was that, Bob?
No, it's all good. Go ahead. I've got pop music flowing through my head.
If that song sticks in my head for the rest of the day, well, I'm going to myself to blame because I started with it. But you were talking about music a lot, and maybe that was part of it. So anyhow, yeah, that will be a painful experience if that song is in my head all day. Everyone else, thanks so much for being with us today. If you have an antidote, one thing that you'd like to share around your virtual network or your network's value in general, please feel free to share it in the comments. You can also join us in our Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where we are talking about your network's value all week. And there are plenty of opportunities for you to share in polls, comments, discussions, look at quotes, so that we can help one another in that group take their next step along their own unique pathway to success. So with that, thanks so much for being a part of our show today. We look forward to seeing you inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. And if not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of Today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, embrace the renegading you and go out and listen to pop music and talk about pop music.
Don't do it.
I did it.
It will stick in your head. It will.
It's not going away.
All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you soon. Thanks for listening to Today's Antidote, powered by the Renegade Success Network. The Renegade Success Network helps you confidently create your own unique pathway to success. To learn more about the Renegade Success Network and how you can take your next step, follow us on Twitter, connect on LinkedIn, or join the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. For full details on how you can join our community, go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. Embrace the renegade in you.